Ding, ding. It's Sunday, which means it's time for the weekend debate. Joining me now is Dow Jones Market Watch columnist and New York Times best-selling author Ellis Henican. Also with us, writer for the Daily Caller, Smythe. Welcome back to both of you. You know, I always say, Ellis, I give you so much credit for coming on here every weekend, being like one of the few liberals that actually comes on this network to share your perspective. So we do.
You don't scare me, Carl. You don't. Neither is your friend
That's
over there.
because
That
you're
K
not in
woman. You
studio.
guys don't scare me.
So I'm just giving you credit. Okay, so let's get to this.
You.
Ellis,
nice to be with you.
OPEC, they're saying that they're going to cut 2 million barrels of oil production. Is it time for us to start drilling here in the good old U.S. of A.?
What do you mean start drilling? We drill huge amounts of oil. I come from Louisiana, Carl,
No,
which
you
is
know
one
what
of
I mean.
America's leading oil-producing states. We drill huge amounts of oil in this country. I don't know what you're talking about.
We've drilled a lot more in the past. Do you think it's time to start ramping that production back up?
Well, you know, we got to have a balanced program. We need all forms of energy. We need to do it all across the board, and we need to do it responsibly. If what you're asking me, am I for ruining the earth in order to double the production? No, we need to do it responsibly, but we need to do it assertively. How about that?
Okay, so Kay, we produce oil at a quarter of the carbon footprint than someone like Nicolas Maduro does. Why are we asking them for oil?
I have no idea, Carl. You know, we really need to start opening every single avenue for oil production in the United States right now for three reasons. One, we're in a global financial crisis, and I don't think the country is going to be able to afford to import oil at all in the near future, especially with the sort of runaway inflation that we're going through right now. Two, renewable energies are just as bad for the environment in their production as oil and fracking and other types of natural gas extraction. So that argument kind of falls on dead ears at this point. And then three, what we really don't want is to end up like Europe or Bangladesh with these long blackouts, people choosing between eating and heating. You know, Bangladesh lost 80% of its power this month. Everyone in Bangladesh was like, oh, it's due to a fault with the grid, like something went wrong with the grid. It's actually because the currency is barely worth anything right now. They've got exactly the same runaway inflation that we have here. I don't think they can actually afford to turn on the national power grid in Bangladesh. And if we don't do something soon, we're going to be seeing exactly the same thing here in the United States. If it can happen there and it can happen in Europe, it's going to happen here. This is a financial issue. I think this is a short-term solution to what could be a very long-term problem.
So, Ellis, you know, we've noticed obviously the hurricane has happened down in Florida. How many of those responding emergency vehicles were electric?
More and more every year. I don't know the exact numbers. I suspect
Zero.
I suspect you don't either. Listen, Carl. The answer is not to be one of these one solution people. I know you love drilling oil, but you need to be more open-minded about the other alternatives. And folks ought to understand that if we're going to get out of these energy challenges we have, we need everything. So I don't understand why you keep posing these false choices. I don't want to make a choice.
I don't think it's actually an issue of not being open to it, Ellis. I think just from a practical perspective, when you look at wind farms, like I used to live out in California, I would drive from Los Angeles to Joshua Tree every single weekend past, I don't even know how many wind farms. How many of them, like the turbines were actually spinning? Pretty much zero. I've looked at getting my boyfriend a solar farm at his farm, and it just doesn't pay itself off. The actual materials that are needed to build these products do not pay themselves off. They are just as destructive to the environment in the way that they're made. Same with electric cars. What we really need to be doing, and this is not just my opinion, this is like an actual science-y thing, because, you know, WEF and whoever don't actually own the science, or the UN, or whoever claimed to own it last week. Changes by the week, I swear to goodness, now that we've lost Fauci. But the science is pretty much conclusive on this. What we need to do, I'm all for reducing and recycling, but we have an energy form that works right now. We have it right under our feet. We can get to it. It can mitigate a lot of our problems in the immediate term. I'm all for looking at renewables down the line. I'm all for well, actually, I think electric cars are really lame. That's just my personal opinion. I think it could be something to look at down the line, not in this current economic crisis. It's just not viable.
Ellis, and this is my general confusion here. It's like, sure, I'd be open to renewables too, but what is your, you're saying we need to diversify.
Let me give you all both.
What?
Let me give you all both a very practical example that's happening right now. All across America, people installing solar panels in their homes. It is producing wonderful clean energy. It is lowering people's electric bills. It is easing pressure on the environment. It is thumbing our nose at OPEC and Russia and Venezuela and Carl, all the people that we all hate. And it is actually providing good, clean energy. I don't understand why you guys won't say, let's embrace all of it. Let's encourage it all. And by the way, maybe some of those oil companies like Exxon, who got $18 billion in profits in the last quarter, wouldn't be making so much of our money.
Alice, I'm all for solar. I actually worked in the solar industry before I moved out to the United States. It's not actually viable for most households.
That is true.
And the way that PV solar is manufactured, again, just as detrimental to the environment, and it takes a lot longer to see those returns.
Kay is right. It is not economically viable without massive government subsidies.
And like most houses don't even point south.
And the economic cost to produce it is far higher than drilling for oil. Folks, we appreciate you being here. Let the sun shine. Okay.
Good to see you guys.
All right.